Alright, so I will be presenting about sustainable solutions in Russia, in particular in relation to, firstly, their urban green spaces, secondly, the dacha allotments, which I already mentioned today, which are also considered part of the urban area. So these are small plots of land which provide a significant portion of the entire food supply of the Russian Federation. And thirdly, a recent expansion of that program which involves allotting a full hectare of land, which is 10,000 square metres, to any citizen for the purpose of permanently moving out of a city and starting new settlements in land which in many cases has been underused since the fall of the Soviet Union. So Russia is obviously a different country to Australia, but it has some very interesting similarities, in particular its enormous land area and also its enormous reliance on agriculture, and like us, they are hoping to become the food bowl of Asia and to feed everyone in Asia and to feed everyone in Europe. So we share that similar ambition to increase our export value. So what I've got, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then I have a 600,000 word essay to present to you right now. Because what I've mostly done for the last couple of days is gotten together some imagery of the different people and things which are happening in the last 10 years. Now, I spent 6 months in Russia last year, which is where I studied anthropology for my undergrad, and the main thing we do in anthropology is field work. I think that would be fantastic to bring that more over into sustainability. So what I did independently last year was to do field work for 6 months in Russia in these settlements to see how people live. Many of the techniques that they're using are the same techniques that people are coming across when they're talking about agroecology, when they're talking about organic farming. And the beauty about this is that it's happening naturally. There's no top-down influence, there's no funding, there's no research projects or anything required in order to stimulate people to go and do these things. All that's been required is to give people the responsibility of the land that they're on. Naturally, when you have the responsibility, you don't want to poison it, you want to make things efficient, especially if you're poor, because Russia has been, especially in the last 20 years, pretty poor. For a lot of people, it means that their plots have been quite important for them, actually, to eat. It's also been a source of economic improvement when people can use their plots of land to, cultivate honey, do their little berries and fruit preserves and things like that, value-added products that have meant that when they found themselves unemployed, they could still make a living and feed their family. That was particularly big, obviously, at the end of the Soviet Union, when many people immediately found themselves out of work because a lot of the formerly state-owned enterprises and industries just shut down immediately. There was no work. Everyone moved back to their dachas and started growing food, and that's been widely attributed. That's been widely attributed as the main reason that massive imports of food aid were not required in Russia during that time. So I'm going to ask some questions to the floor right now. Can anyone see, what catches your eye among all of this imagery here? Can anyone call out?
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes, yes. Tomatoes are a very common crop, that's true. Sorry, what was that?
People.
Community.
People, community, exactly right. Are there any, I'm not sure if you've seen too many photos, but have you noticed anything about the way in which people are meeting? There's some good examples on that page right there.
Circles.
Circles, very important. In the dacha cooperative, there is no boss, there is no leader. It meets on the basis of equality. So every member has an equal vote and an equal say, and once the collective has come up with a decision, then it is simply implemented by someone who has been chosen to go and deliver the decision to, whatever authorities are involved in that particular decision, whether it's, we're going to make a road here, we're going to open up another plot there for more people to come move in, or whatever decision it is in that situation. Good. Anything else? What kind of things do you see?
So can I just ask, are the
Please.
decisions consensus or majority?
Consensus is the answer. And once, did you want to expand on that distinction at all?
No, just that it's one of the hardest things with commune or anything in cooperative that they've seen this decision making pretty much like taking the next step forward is incredibly difficult with consensus at stake.
Yep, it's a good point. A key difference between a commune situation here is that there's a sense of individual ownership over each plot that they're dealing with. And what I have found from my research is that over time, a culture of consensus decision making becomes easier. So, for example, anything to add there at all? David, or no?
No, I was speculating that might be the case, that they might be culturally attuned to more efficient consensual decision making, even for practice, or on the basis of their feudal background. And you might be deeply in the culture.
Yep.
To be more efficient about it.
That's definitely true, yeah. I haven't looked at all the sociology behind that, but just anecdotally, having had the experience of SARS and then effective SARS in Stalin and so forth, there's not a big culture of saying, no, not that, There's more of a culture of kind of just going on with the prevailing, if there's someone who's sort of leading the thing, they'll sort of let that person lead the thing and then just put in little suggestions here and there to try and shape the process. But technically speaking, it's consensus. So if someone has an issue with something, then that kind of has to be resolved before the decision goes forward. Yep. So that was circles. What else can we see?
Kids.
Children, yes. What would happen if a child is involved in, for example, planting a garden or planting a particular tree or something like that?
Transmission of knowledge.
Transmission of knowledge, yes, very good. Anything else? Awareness, yeah.
And stewardship, they sort of, it becomes theirs, and so they look after it,
Definitely. They're not going to cut down that tree, and they're also not they're going to have more of a link to that land. They're not necessarily they're not going to let it go into disrepair later in life.
Very low tech.
It's very low tech. What would that mean as well?
Low cost.
Low cost. Exactly.
No chemicals.
No chemicals, exactly right. What kind of things would that consequence? Safe. Yep.
More nutritious.
More nutritious food. Yep. Great. How am I going for time? Oh my god, I'm already 8 minutes 30, so I guess we've combined my 5 minutes and my 3 minutes. Good, well, this has been my presentation on dachas and so forth. And yeah, just the statistics that I had up before. Well, there are really a lot of photos.
I have 2 questions.
Sure. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Who gets which land? Because some lands are better than others. So
That's true. That's true. Okay, in the dacha system, it was basically on local governments to allocate. Now, as we know, in the Soviet Union, it was nepotism involved. They would help their friends and their family out. That was just how it happened. So oftentimes, it would be the friends and the family of the mayor who would get the good lands, but still anyone could get a piece of land, The thing to remember in Russia is that the other similarity with Australia actually is that we have this big environmental challenge. So Russia has the very, very cold winters. Australia has the very dry environment. The difference being that it means nonetheless that there's actually less fertility variation in Russia. Like the soil is not uniformly, but pretty uniformly along the whole main populated area is pretty good. but that's definitely an issue. In the newer system that they only started in 2017 in February, there is an online portal that you log in with your citizenship details, and you literally just there's a map of available plots, and you choose which plot you want, and then you start the process of doing the paperwork. You have a 5-year probationary period, and if you've used it for that 5 years, then you get to register as your ownership. Yep.
Just on that though, that's a plot per family, right? So how does it work if the two parents of that family is separated? Are women entitled to as much land as men?
Yeah. Any citizen, it's done on the basis of an individual. Yeah. Or a foreigner who wants to get, I think, a residency permit. But yeah, any individual, certainly, yeah.
As the world population keeps growing and we'll need more and more land, is this sustainable?
In terms of
area of land.
More
people, we need more land, but we'll also need more land to build the houses on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, that's a huge thing. That's like what I'm doing my whole degree thesis on. It's like the sustainability of this program. In terms of land use, I think it is, and that's what I need to show, because I think that this is a more efficient land use than if you live, in the unit, but you need a mine, and you need a farm, and you need a factory, and you need all of this kind of stuff. But that's going to have to be for me to show. In terms of the land area, Russia has the second most arable land per person out of any country in the world. Editor's note, wrong, sorry, Russia is 5th on the list and it has 0.86 arable hectares per person. Nonetheless, still true that they can easily 5 or 6 times over, accommodate their entire population on hectare plots like this. Can anyone tell me which country has the most arable land per person out of any country in the world?
Brazil.
Is it?
No. Any guesses at all? Brazil? No.
United States or Mexico?
By almost a factor of 2. The number 1 has 2 hectares of arable land per person. Number 2 is Russia. They have 1.14 or something hectares of arable land per person. Wrong again, I'm afraid. Second place has 1.7 hectares per person, whereas first place has 2 hectares per person. Number 1 is? It's Australia! The most arable land per person out of any country in the world. Least population density out of any country in the world. Right here, Australia. My suggestion, humbly, is that the research would suggest this would be a beneficial development policy for Australia and the world. Yes. All right.